That's right, for all you fans of Sarah Michelle Gellar and David Boreanaz and Allison Hannigan, and the show ran for 6 years. And
we may have a
on
problem.
the WB. What?
I watched the movie.
The movie?
Yeah. I thought we were doing the movie, not the TV show.
I watched all 7 seasons of the show this last
I never
week.
even watched the show.
I spent every single day watching 10 episodes to watch the entire show so we'd be caught up for this. Oh my God.
Well, you're leading anyway. Let's get to it.
Damn it, man. All right, listen. Thankfully, I've seen the movie, so I'm going to freestyle. But one of these days, we're doing the whole damn show because I spent the whole last 7 days. I didn't eat for 7 days. I just watched Buffy.
Well, then you know what? Then we're going to have to make a trade.
Don't do it. Don't do what I think you want to do.
Supernatural.
Because that is not an equal trade. That is 15 seasons for 7 seasons. That is not equal trade.
Well, you know what? I'll compromise with you. We'll do the first 5 seasons.
All right. I will do, in exchange for Buffy's 7 seasons, I will do the pilot episode of Supernatural. What do you think?
5 seasons.
5 seasons?
5 seasons of Supernatural.
None of this works. All right.
The only thing I know about it is Sarah Michelle Gellar and Anthony Head.
So that said, actually, we're going to do then the movie Buffy the Vampire Slayer from 1992.
With Christy Swanson.
And the only thing I've seen other than this is a movie called The Chase with Charlie Sheen, which is actually pretty good, but it's hard to find.
We got Donald Sutherland.
And
an alumni to our show, Rutger Hauer.
Rutger Hauer, who I have to say is one of the best villain actors of all time. He's in this. He's in The Hitcher.
Here's another one. Here's a pretty big cameo for anyone who's seen Screams 1 through 500. David Arquette.
David Arquette playing someone other than Deputy Dewey, which is actually a good thing because we've seen too much of Deputy Dewey. We got Luke Perry from Beverly Hills 90210.
I never watched that show.
I didn't watch the show, even though I know all the storylines, know that it came on Wednesday nights on Fox at 8 p.m. every week. And
you're a white girl.
Including summer episodes, and I don't own the DVDs. Maybe I do. I don't know. Listen, 90210 was a great show, right? Fantastic. You don't have to live in Beverly Hills to enjoy it. You can live in the 22 something. I'm not going to say our zip code, but whatever it might be. Just saying, great show, Wednesday nights on Fox.
So the closest thing you're going to get me to watching Beverly Hills is Beverly Hills Cop or Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Now, I can confuse you by having the Beverly Hills Cop music over an episode of 90210, and about 30 minutes in, you'll be like, hey, that ain't Anna Murphy. That's some teenage kid from Beverly Hills. Who else? We have Paul Rubens, who you may better know as Pee-wee Herman, who is actually a damn good comedic actor. I gotta say, I'm loving him in this movie.
In the first scene, we get to meet 2 people, including a redhead. Okay, let's go meet Buffy now.
So we have a flashback to...
Explain what Slayers are.
Assuming some previous decades, and basically the story, if you've seen the TV show, it's pretty much the same thing here. Every generation a Slayer is born, and with a Slayer there's a Watcher whose job is to watch over the Slayer, and then typically the Slayer gets murdered, and then a new Slayer comes. So for this generation, we're going to have Christy Swanson playing Buffy Summers, who is a teenage cheerleader at a high school. Their cheers aren't very good. Got one question for you, Nick. How funky is your chicken, and how loose is your goose? Buffy's friends,
played by Hilary Swank,
and 2 other random girls,
are
basically the picture definition of
frenemies.
No, they're those popular girls in school that are super vapid, super superficial, don't care about anything except when the next party is, what dress they're gonna wear, who they can stab in the back, whose boyfriend they can steal. It's every stereotype you could possibly think of for this type, which would later be lampooned in movies like Mean Girls, and even
Mean Girls did it better though.
Well, Mean Girls had 10 years to build on that though. This
and a redheaded Lindsay Lohan before she was on drugs.
True. Mean Girls is a much more serious movie.
Yeah.
And we also meet David Arquette and Luke Perry. He's playing Pike. But what's David Arquette's name? Benny and
I was just gonna say Dewey.
So Dewey and Pike are hanging out, basically.
Dewey and Pike.
And they seem like cool dudes. Not cool dudes, but funny dudes.
They definitely drunk.
Their rapport is funny, and they are drunk, absolutely. And my favorite thing here is that Dewey does something to Buffy.
And apparently she has cat-like reflexes to take a butter knife and cut a wiener in half.
The funniest thing, though, is that Pike gags on his hot dog bun.
And then David Arquette's just sitting there.
He says, "Oh, you cut my wiener," and Pike goes, "Oh."
Yeah, David Arquette's just sitting there all nonchalant, like, now why would you do something like that? That could have hurt.
Oh man, that's
So
exactly my sense.
now we get our cheerleading practice and showing Buffy is practicing her gymnastics, when all of a sudden Donald Sutherland playing Merrick is randomly somehow got into her school.
Use the back door. School during the day, the doors are open. I've known because when I skipped school back in the day, I would hide in the bathroom until first period started, and after everybody went to class, I would simply walk out the bathroom and walk out the back door freely. This is only my senior year, folks, and I don't recommend this for kids at home.
So you know what I did to skip school?
What?
I didn't go to the school. I hid in the woods and then walked to the school through the woods.
Interesting.
Or walked to the town through the woods.
That probably would have been smarter. I had to put on the guy. I didn't have a car, so I had to put on the guise of going to school on the school bus.
Well, in senior class, I did have a car, so it was much easier.
I still didn't.
I just figured out where my dad was working, so I know where not to go. And I went the opposite way.
And my dad was at the house until about 10 o'clock in the morning. Then we'd go to work. So I had to do something where I didn't get back home until after 10, and then I had the house to myself. But it was... So anyways, all that to say, Merrick probably came into the back door, and one of the teachers was like, "Hey, you might be too old to be a high school student." And he was like, "I'm a substitute teacher." And they said, "Oh, you're good."
Well, the real question I got is, ladies, question. You see a old man watching you. What is your first thought? To run or to sit there and talk to the old man watching you?
To be fair, I think at this point, she's far enough from him because he's standing back here and she's standing all the way back over here. So she's kind of entertaining what he's talking about. And what's funny is you'll know she actually says, when he says birthright, she's like a trust fund? And that snaps her curiosity because she's like, "Oh, a trust fund." And she brings up the trust fund twice. But still, even that says she doesn't believe what he's talking about, and she's about to walk away. But he's able to perfectly describe her dreams she's been having. And if an old man is describing your dreams, there might be it's a plot way to get around him being a creepy old man because, hey, how does he know your dreams?
So I just want to mention something. She moves closer to him throughout this, and he's not exactly...
When she thinks he has the keys to her trust fund.
And he's not exactly speaking the way an adult should be speaking to a 16-year-old girl.
He's calling the chosen one. He's building up her ego.
He's literally flirting with this woman.
He's talking about vampires in the graveyard.
Hey, vampires can be sexy.
Is that how you flirt? Hey, let's have our first date in the graveyard.
I mean,
hey, I guess in the
if you have a neck fetish,
oh my god, whatever floats your boat. The trust fund thing made me laugh, and then I was thinking, like, how does he get her to the graveyard? Because there's no way she's leaving school with an old man. But the fact that he can describe her dream perfectly to a T, where she's curious, and then also, I don't know if you picked up on this, but he said something about was the farm in Virginia. So apparently the Slayers are either from Virginia or some vampire history in
just
Virginia.
that one Slayer was that one of the Slayers was
in a Virginia farm. So in my canon, it was probably in our town that happened. So,
yeah, probably
because I've seen a couple of vampires there.
Probably. So I do got a question. Now they're in the graveyard. Well, for one, also, Buffy has already blown off another girl who's supposed to tutor her so she can get her homework done. Tutor, air quotes.
She doesn't need homework. She's going to go to Europe and marry Christian Slater. So
yeah, allegedly. But the question is, because Donald Sutherland's explaining about this guy's grave, he says 3 days ago, this man was killed, drained of blood, and then given a burial. And I'm questioning this for the fact that what murder victim, because you hear on the news, this is a serial murderer going around giving people an extreme case of the hickeys.
That's true.
That's exactly the way this damn news article put it. If he's a murder victim, why would they be burying him 3 days before the whole case is even solved? It takes a whole week for a natural cause victim to be buried. How do you think it's going to take 3 days for a murder victim who could probably shed some light?
Listen, This is a big case. They brought in the best coroner in the country to work on him. Just where they work quick. Listen, if I can watch 800 Buffy episodes in 1 week, this can be done, all right? The math makes sense to me, and I'm good with it. He actually has her purposefully sit on a grave of somebody who he knows is going to come out and attack her. And unfortunately, Merrick shows that he has no fighting abilities himself because he's pretty much getting his ass kicked.
Yeah, I was hoping the movie was going to end when the vampire girl goes, grabs Buffy, and just starts chowing down. But, PG-13 vampire movies, they don't do the stuff like that.
Killing their main character in the first 20 minutes?
Yes.
No movie does that. It's called Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Then it would have to be, okay, if she dies in the canon...
We'll probably follow Kimberly.
I'm thinking Hilary Swank takes over as a Slayer.
Yeah.
And then she dies on the first trip to the graveyard also.
Yeah, probably this time gets mauled by vampires, not just attacked by one.
On the way to the graveyard, she probably trips on herself.
And most likely Buffy's one of the ones that actually kills her.
Again, the friends, I know you find them stupid, and they are the most annoying, clueless high school girls you could think of. But I'm laughing my ass off when they're talking about doing a paper or a school thing about how to improve the world. And one of them's like, the ozone. And then one was like, yeah, we should get rid of that. It's just so stupid. They're like, the ozone. Yeah, we should get rid of that. Okay, so and they all agree. They're like that. I'm telling you, that's.
Amelia said the same thing.
If that doesn't put a smile on your face, then you're being too uptight about it.
I guess I'm being too uptight because I'm just sitting there.
That's hilarious.
I'm just sitting there like this.
I think you had a. That's funny, stupid. That they're literally saying, "Oh, we got to get rid of the ozone."
Fudge these lipsticks.
David Arquette getting bit. So I was reading the IMDb trivia, and the writer said basically that in this movie that the main villain, Lothos, and his sidekick, they are basically vampires from generations from the Middle Ages even.
Mm-hmm.
So they actually have true vampire strength, but all the converts in this movie and the teenagers that get converted are basically new vampires, so they pretty much suck, and that's why
all they want is blood. They need blood to continue to get stronger.
Buffy can pretty much make quick work of them.
Well, that's also why Pike's able to fight them. Vic's not a big fan of Hocus Pocus, and unfortunately, this movie is pretty much my Hocus Pocus with Vic. I am not a fan of this movie.
And I'm a big fan, and I think my reason also is I think that, like Hocus Pocus, I think there's just I think movies, if you watch them, and I would love to see if that Facebook chat ever responded with actual responses about how nostalgia affects your view of movies. Because my theory is that if you saw a movie a lot as a kid, even with its flaws, even as an adult, you have the nostalgia goggles on, so it still like brings back emotion for you and you're into it. Whereas somebody watching it fresh without the emotional nostalgic attachment, that's always the Hocus Pocus. I was watching it, I didn't laugh once. I could appreciate what Nick likes about it, but as an adult, I was just like, I don't like this movie.
And whereas this movie with me is pretty much the exact same on that front.
But this one isn't nostalgia. This one I think is just we have different senses of humor. For me, as with Troll 2, I like a lot of cheese. So if something is campy and it knows it's campy and it's not taking itself seriously, I'm on the journey then. So when Benny's standing outside of Pike's window.
He's not standing.
When he's floating outside of Pike's window, and Pike sees him floating and says, "You're floating! Get out of here!"
No, first it was like, hey, bud, you don't let me in. I'm so hungry.
You notice that Pike says there's a double meaning. He looks down. He says, "Are you on something?" And I'm thinking, is he talking about him being on drugs, or is he like saying, actually, are you on a platform? But then he's just like, he sees his friend floating in the sky. He's like, "You're floating! Get out of here!" Just funny stuff. And one plot hole I'll definitely point out though is that when they're in the locker room and Merrick comes to convince Buffy to come training, she had missed training to go to cheerleading practice, so she's still, at this point, prioritizing cheerleading. Merrick throws the knife at her, she catches it, but she's pretty much done with the idea of it. She's like, I don't want to do this, blah, blah. She breaks Merrick's nose, and for some reason it cuts to her training, and
a whole training montage, nonetheless.
It didn't establish why she suddenly was back on board with it when in the last scene she was like, no, I don't do this. The training montage, there's not much you can do.
There's one thing we're missing, though. It's the "I am the tiger."
No, but I'm cool with the cheesy 90s pop music, though.
I guess with a high school girl, it definitely fits the bill more than Eye of the Tiger.
Hey,
Because
I heard the song. I went on YouTube. I was like, what is this Buffy song sound on the soundtrack? Because I love 90s pop music. So the training made sense, though. She's trained to do a flip and then throw the stake accurately, basically. And also, she's hitting the leg and not the damn heart. So Merrick's
at least she's still hitting something.
Merrick's whole training, his whole emphasis is get the heart, not my stomach. So.
Yeah, I'm just wondering one thing. In this training montage, they're fighting, and she actually wins. She jumps over his
it's well established
leg
that
sweep.
Merrick can't fight.
Yeah, she jumps over his leg sweep. She knocks him down, and then she puts the stake right up to his eye, and he just moves it to his heart. And I'm like, how do you miss a heart from that close of an angle?
I think you have to give the movie one leap here. And that's just that. And it's written this way, I feel like. But
I got to give the movie a lot of leaps here.
No, but there's one leap in this scene you have to give. Buffy's not very smart. Nobody's going to claim her as being a smart person. And that's the confines that Merrick has to work with, is that this woman is not necessarily intelligent, but he still thinks she has a lot of potential, I guess. All right, so now we see Buffy in actual action. Her first night doing night watch. She plays a rope-a-dope. She gives the impression that she's cold and alone and scared. That lures the vampire out.
And she kills it.
She kills him, but Merrick did not like that whole thing. As far
Well, yeah,
as
because if she was surrounded, she'd be vampire chow.
Gives her good advice. He says, hey, remember this always. 1 vampire is easier to kill than 10 vampires.
And that is true with any street fight. 1 person is easier to fight than 10.
Now, if you're Michael Myers, if it's a mob coming at you or a group of firefighters, you're still good to go.
Yeah, but Buffy and these vampires are not looking for chicken McNuggets.
They should be.
Ah.
Everybody should be.
Ah.
All right, let me specifically point out one great scene, maybe my favorite scene in the movie. And this scene to me elevates it a lot. It's a scene where Merrick and Buffy are in the living room and they have a sort of getting to know you bonding scene.
Oh,
This scene was fantastic because it's actually, you can feel them actually becoming closer in the scene. And Merrick makes a joke.
remember what she said she wanted to do as her full-time job?
Yeah, I'm jealous. She wants to be a buyer. And Merrick asks, explain, and she's like, a buyer of something, a buyer of anything.
See,
Bless her heart. So
when she first said buyer, I was thinking, oh, she's going to go into stocks. She's going to do stock markets because a lot of people get rich off of those. No. She wants to continue buying fashion.
well, listen, she's already
Remember, what was the one thing she has that the other Slayers didn't?
a keen fashion sense.
Yeah, vampires, look out.
Well, you know, that part of the movie, the fashion part, maybe that part would be more enjoyable for teenage girls. I'll say that. We're grown men. We're not the target audience for that kind of scene, that kind of dialogue. But
I got moves.
that's true. She's already established earlier that her plan is to move to Europe and marry Christian Slater. So
Yeah, good luck with that.
hey, I think a famous actor
You know what would be funny?
marry a vampire slayer.
If Christian Slater actually played her boyfriend, what was his name? Fucking Jeremy? I think it was Jeffrey.
Jeffrey was quite the annoying person.
Yeah, but still, they should have had Christian Slater play Jeffrey just so she can say that and kind of be tongue-in-cheek there.
That'd have been hilarious.
Yeah.
So, and Merrick makes a joke about he wants to be a bootmaker.
He wasn't joking.
No, he was serious, a bootmaker.
I'm pretty sure he was serious.
That's true. His actual joke was just that.
He's just a very tall leprechaun.
True. But his reaction to the fashion sense joke was spot on.
Yeah.
He was like, oh, I'll alert all the vampires. And that's where she said, heartwarmingly, she said, you made a joke. Are you feeling okay? Do you need to lie down? I know the first time is hard.
So now
Good dialogue.
the vampires attack Pike again. What is so important about Pike?
So my theory is that, the one problem I have with this scene is that, well, there's a couple things going on. This town right now, apparently, because we're seeing random people get attacked. Just random people are getting attacked. So my theory here at the beginning of the movie is that you notice that, what's the vampire, the main vampire, the psychic dude? What's Pee Wee Herman's name?
I don't know. A million. I just call it Pee-wee.
So Pee Wee, you notice that the main vampire guy, he's not quite raised at the beginning, right? So they're killing all these people basically, and it seems like he's gaining more power as more people get killed, or more people get converted to vampires. Because maybe half an hour of the movie, then the main vampire comes. But initially, they're going around killing all random people. Pike, who's smartly is leaving town after he saw his friend Benny floating in the air, is sleeping in his van though, or something on the highway. sees two vampires approaching, and Pee-wee's in front of him. Pee-wee jumps on his car. The car, for some reason, goes completely off the road, down a hill.
Hits a tree.
Hits a tree. Now so
Pee-wee loses an arm.
Pee-wee loses his arm, and the arm fall, and this, again, the reaction here made me laugh. The arm falls into the car, and then Pike's just like, hey, huh? He looks up and he goes, ah!
Yeah,
right into a tree.
Be honest with you, he had enough damn time. That's where another leap of logic needs to be done. But because it's me, I don't do leap of logic, obviously. He had enough time to move out of the damn way of this tree.
No, but it's a comedy, so it's funny how he reacts. He's like, oh, well, whoa! You're being nitpicky if you're just like, oh, the timing of the tree.
That's not nitpicky.
This is Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Had he moved,
you sound like you had a stopwatch. You're like, all right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
I did.
Cheesy comedy.
Plot holes still need to be addressed, even in cheesy comedies. Buffy comes and saves the day.
Because she's on night watch.
Yep, because, vampires come out at night. Yeah, so they have a little, pretty much rehashing everything we already know just to Pike, so Pike understands.
It's more than that, though.
What is it?
It's a budding romance. And they're showing their chemistry and that they like each other, or that they may soon like each other.
The only 2 times these 2 characters have interacted with each other was the first time was Pike actually hitting her damn chair at the movie theater.
Which you missed the funny line there, too. Betty's like, we paid good money for these seats. Pike's like, no, we didn't. They didn't pay. They snuck in the movie theater.
And then the other time was in the bar where they were even like, oh, yeah, we hate you guys.
But if you watch the bar scene even, because I've seen the movie a million times, so I pick up on this. In the bar scene even, him and her make eye contact, and you can tell, even though they're from different crowds, that there's at least some kind of initial physical attraction there.
He is a fully grown adult. She is 16.
At this time, he was on Beverly Hills 90210 playing a teenager. They never say his age. Just because he's a mechanic, he could have dropped out of high school. That said, the second scene is where there's more sparks. And the sparks are that finally she has somebody who's not Merrick who she can talk to about this whole thing that's been going on there. And by the way, her parents are pretty much absentee parents.
Oh, yeah. Even when she came after the graveyard scene, she comes in she has blood on her chin, covered in dirt. Do you know what time it is? The mom's getting angry. Yeah, it's almost 10. I knew it. We're almost late.
Parents from hell.
Yeah, I swear, these might as well be the same parents that nuked Freddy in the Nightmare on Elm Street. They came back there.
They did a good job of leaving the parents out of the movie then. Because we never see the parents again.
Right,
so...
Basketball game.
Now, this scene I did not like because, first of all, the actor who's playing the basketball player who's turned the vampire, that's actually Brady from Halloween 4.
I was wondering why he looked so freaking familiar.
Yeah, he's Brady from Part 4. I just don't think a vampire would care about scoring points in the basketball game, and he's just like fucking around with the basketball and stuff. And then Buffy kind of exposes herself in front of the entire school.
Like an idiot.
But it's a cool visual to see someone get sweep kicked on the basketball floor.
I mean, I somewhat understand her reasoning, but she still could have done it without alerting the entire school.
What's funny is the rest of the school is so stupid that even the next day they just kind of take it as her acting weird, but nobody actually bats an eye about the actual vampire basketball player. But the more importantly, I don't know if this is a trap, but basically she chases him
to the amusement, which I believe it is a trap.
I think it is a trap where the main vampire is. So
that way Lothos can lay his eyes on who the new Slayer is.
Yeah, because he doesn't actually know who she is in terms of her being Buffy high school student. But she shows up, and Merrick has this whole thing about Lothos has a thing where he doesn't want to do anything with Buffy until she's ready. I don't know what that means.
He probably wants to show, maybe as a warning to other Slayers, like, hey, I'm not one you want to fuck with.
It's like he wants her to come to him versus him coming to her.
So the whole thing with these two doesn't really get annoying until right before the climax, and I'll go over that when we get there. At the amusement park, what's bad is he already shows that he has power over her. He's seducing her. She's getting closer. Pike's trying to talk to her. By the way,
she's in a trance.
So there's one thing in the amusement scene where two vampires are holding her. Pike kills the vampire, the vampire that knows her
from behind.
Yeah, and then she gets out of the being held by the other two. But yet, when she knocks one down, the other one that's right behind her that could have grabbed a hold of her was just jumping like a fucking idiot. Like, oh, come here, turn around and kick me in the face.
So I think we'll call them the low-level role-player vampires. I think they basically, once the main vampire, Lothos, is there, they pretty much can't do anything unless he gives them like a direct command. Like they have no autonomy or something like that on their own, basically. So pretty much even the psychic vampire has to still go by what Lothos says. And right now, what he wants to do basically is have Buffy in a trance and then kill her. But luckily, or not luckily for him, Merrick's on the scene. So the whole mythos, though, is that the Watcher is not allowed to interfere in these kind of things. Basically, Merrick said in the earlier scene pretty much that pretty much has to watch the Slayer die if she happens to fall prey to this, because he's not supposed to interfere. But in this case,
he does.
He has enough emotional bond to try to interfere, but on Merrick's part, he's being an idiot, because why does he think that Lothos is going to simply allow him to stake him with... I mean, Merrick doesn't come down with force. He just has a stake in his hand.
So the real question I got is, in this kind of scene, all we had to do for him to save some of the other Slayers is potentially sacrifice himself so the Slayer could get out of the trance and potentially stake Lothos from behind as he's killing Merrick. Instead, he just lets all the others die.
Yep.
It's jackass. I don't like Merrick even more now.
I think Merrick probably was confused on what to do. I think the thing is, too, is I don't think he knew how long it would take Buffy to get out of the trance. Because she's in the trance for a good damn while. By the time Buffy's out of the trance, the problem is Merrick's already been stabbed. Now, I will say this. One fault of the movie, I have to say, is that at this point, I would have preferred to have Sarah Michelle Gellar, because we do need Buffy to show a little bit more emotion here than Christy Swanson is able to do. I think Pike actually has a better reaction in the background here than Christy Swanson does with Merrick in her lap. Buffy is otherwise likable, and Christy Swanson can play likable in the scene she needs to be likable. Meanwhile, Lothos walks away basically saying, hey, she's not ready yet.
Which, I'm kind of annoyed by Lothos and a lot of his scenes, because he has so many opportunities to kill her. In one scene, he has her in his arms. Her neck is literally right in his mouth. He doesn't take the bite.
He's not about the bite. He's about the cooking the meal.
So
he's about the simmering food. I will say this. One of my problems with the movie is that I don't think they do a good job of defining what Lothos's overall plan is. Because I don't know what Lothos is thinking, or I don't know. They don't describe, okay, what does it mean she's not ready? And or like, what does she have to do to be ready?
And another reason is, why is she kind of special? Because, to be honest, when he went after the one in the flashback, he just straight up killed her.
Mm-hmm.
So why is Buffy so important that the other Slayers weren't? Because originally, I was thinking maybe he was turning the Slayers to become his bride. And that could still be true with Buffy, but what is so important about her? Maybe he's just into blondes. Because the one we see him kill is a redhead.
I don't know what would be important about her prior to this scene. But going forward from the scene, the fact that within the scene, Lothos sees that Merrick was willing to sacrifice himself and actually interfere for the first time can click off in Lothos' mind that, ooh, there's something special about this Buffy because Merrick was willing to interfere. So going forward, that's got to at least put in his head that, Merrick doesn't interfere. He's not supposed to actually sacrifice his life for her. So going forward, I can see where she's more special in his mind. But that said, because Merrick died and because Buffy does actually, to be fair, she does blame herself. She wants to try now to go in the other direction and adjust back to normal, superficial teenage life.
Which she goes to prom in a wedding dress.
She realizes that she can try, but she can't really go back to her life. She does buy the prom dress.
Which is a wedding dress.
Pike has a funny line when he confronts her about it, because the typical line is, I'm not angry, I'm just disappointed. He's like, I'm not disappointed, I'm just angry. So that's the first time I've heard them reverse the line. And I thought that was a good line. But Buffy goes to the prom.
And then so does Pike.
So
they dance, and then we get the
whoa.
not like other girls cliche.
Whoa. It does work in this context of her being a vampire slayer.
Well, that is true, but it's still a cliche.
But think about how it's played, though. He says, you're not like other girls. And she says, yes, I am. The cliche would be the girl saying, I'm not like other girls. But don't sidebar how romantic and awesome this scene is and how great the music is. And I totally buy them as a couple, and I'm on board with them completely. Good job, Pike and Buffy. And I'm sure even your wife was like, ah.
No, she was literally like, can we get on with this movie already?
Well, everybody else loved that scene. Now, we do get on. The vampires
attack.
They're coming, and they're coming not for Buffy, but they're here for Hilary Swank. You know why? Because they don't want her to go on to be the next Karate Kid, so they're preemptively going to bite her neck, so there is no next Karate Kid.
A few witty words between Pee-wee and Buffy.
Because she stabs him with a stake, and my man just won't die.
No, and even Ruger Hauer, who's playing the violin, is just watching him like, can you just die already?
Ooh. But then, But the funniest thing is, I can't stress enough. After the end credits, we cut back to him still being there, like, somewhere in some school somewhere, he's still not dead.
So Pike and Dewey get into a fight,
and Dewey rightfully is saying, "Hey, man, we used to hate these bitches, man." Like,
and during the scuffle, Pike does not. I don't remember Pike actually staking him. I remember Pike shoving him in a electric jukebox.
He throws something on his face first, I think.
Oh yeah, holy water.
There was holy water on his face, which burns his face, and now he's like, ah!
And then
Dewey says, how am I going to pass the police exam if I can't see?
And then shoves him into a electric box, which shocks him, but since he's a vampire, I don't think that's going to kill him. But that's the last time we see him.
I hope not, because actually even as a vampire, man, like, Benny was trying to kill him, I guess, but they still seem like good friends. So there's music playing, and this is all part of Lothos's seducing her, essentially. And she's not buying it now because she's remembering Merrick's advice, and she did take something from him, so.
Now, notice how he's literally up against her neck. He's going to bite, and then she stands up, and then he's just like, I'm going to bite you now.
No.
And then he turns her head, goes for another bite, goes, what? Cute couple? It's like, why would that line stop you, bud?
But it doesn't stop him. And he says something that I can't see how this didn't make you laugh. When he's being so suave and so like trying to seduce her, and he said like, "You stupid little bitch." That is a hilarious line because he's like so chill, and suddenly he's like,
what's bad is if he would have just bit her, he would not be dead.
I think he was waiting for a certain point in the song. Clearly, the downfall of Lothos is that he's too pre-planned how he wants the moment to be. He's not just gonna kill her. He's gonna kill her at the moment that he is prophesized in his own mind.
But still, she gave him. He didn't give it to himself. She gave him so many opportunities for him to kill her.
But it's something I've seen this other vampire things though too. It's something where even this was in Vampire in Brooklyn with Eddie Murphy, if you remember that.
He bit the girl.
No, but before he did anything, he said basically he needs the girl to kind of give herself fully over to him before he can do it.
Well, that's a different lore for him because the story going on there.
Maybe, but that's easily looks like what's going on here too. That's why she's not ready. That's why he has to seduce her. He needs her fully on board. Otherwise, you're right. He could just bit her at the beginning. So that'd be boring for him.
And also, one question I got. Because now she gets back to the prom. All the vampires are gone. And then Lothos comes back with a Jason Voorhees wall bust.
He's got to do it, man.
And he pulls a katana.
Yep.
He pulls a fucking katana.
Absolutely.
Question. This man has stated multiple times that they are from the Middle Ages. They fought with the knights. They were a part of the Crusades. Why are you pulling out a katana and not a broadsword?
A sword to kill a broad would have been appropriate for this moment.
Yes.
But I'm going to say between now and then, He went through customs at the airport, and it didn't get through security. That's my headcanon, so there. Your broadsword is still in Canada. That's all I'm going to say. Now,
So-
the good thing is we get to see that, unfortunately, when you take away Lotha's ability to put her in a trance as an actual fighter in combat,
He sucks.
not much to write home about.
And it's probably
you can
because-
see why he relies on his mental game.
And it's probably because this vampire, does not know how to use a katana. He knows how to use a broadsword.
Yeah, of course. I mean, hey,
They're both two different fighting styles of swordsmanship.
true. And he didn't go to katana school,
Exactly.
and probably didn't go to broadsword school either. So
He fought with the Crusades. He knows how to use a broadsword.
let's be honest. He's been using his mental trance thing on all his previous victims probably for centuries.
Let's be honest. He should not have lost this because he had the opportunity.
He's not going to kill the character when the movie's called Buffy the Vampire Slayer. It's not going to be called Lothos killed Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
I would not have even had it to where she even got that close to him. I would have had it to where she and him always fought each other every single damn time, so that way there's no chance of anyone saying, well, he should have killed her by this point.
I'm sure by the 9th episode of Supernatural, the main character should have been killed 5,000 times,
Well,
but they make it out alive
hold
every
up.
time, don't they? Because they're the main
Hold up.
characters.
Dean dies in season 3.
I'm talking permanent, no coming back from, no Return of the Living Dead zombie coming back from the dead death.
He dies in season 15.
That doesn't count. That means if there was a Buffy part 5, she could have been killed in part 5, and Buffy does die in the TV show at a certain point.
Or she could have turned into a damn vampire.
Buffy dies in the TV show, but she comes back to life.
Or she turned into a damn vampire in order to fight Lothos. Because obviously, them fighting him as a human was not working for the other Slayers.
The principal, man, he should be fired. All right, so
One thing I loved, the one part that got Casey or Amelia laughing. You get detention. You get detention. You get detention. You get double detention. You all get. Okay, I think that's all. Nope, over there. Giving
worst.
all the dead vampires detention.
the worst principal of all time. Now, the original ending, it was going to be darker. They actually were going to have Buffy have to burn down the prom, burn down the school with some of her senior class in there and the vampires, but that was too dark for the studio, and they couldn't do it. But that would have solved the Hillary Swank problem because she would have burned in the fire.
Yeah, we would have a Carrie moment.
One final line I'm going to say again, so many good lines, but one final line is Pike saying, "Did I do all this?" And then him realizing that, no. "Did you do all this?" Yeah. And they ride off into the sunset.
Sunrise.
They ride off in the sunrise, never to be seen again except for in the TV show, which had Buffy.
As Sarah Michelle Gellar.
Pike wasn't in it, but they did have a Spike
Yeah.
who dressed like Pike.
Who was a vampire, and I think he was in multiple episodes.
Oh, he was one of the main characters.
Yeah.
He actually was popular enough there to then cross over to be on Angel, too.
Oh, he was on Angel too?
Yeah.
Well, then again, I never saw Angel either. I just knew of it.
The Buffy TV show you would like. It's just, it's...
Now, I know they go off of vampires a good amount of episodes because obviously there's so much you can do with vampires. Like, was it the Gentleman episode I've heard about so much about?
They do a lot of stuff. There's a musical episode.
Oh, my gosh.
You might be into it. If you like Supernatural, they're kind of in the same mold, so...
I'll check it out eventually. My worst performance?
Don't say Deputy Do It.
No. Nope, not him. He was actually pretty fun. I'm going to actually say it. Unfortunately, it goes to Ruger Hauer.
I thought about that too, actually.
And to be honest with you, for me, it's probably not really the performance itself. It's more the fact that he did not belong in this role. It is that because it is definitely still a comedy. He's supposed to be the only serious character in this comedy, but I still couldn't take him seriously throughout because he never followed through with anything.
Well, he works better as like a really chilling, really evil, chilling, diabolical, serious villain. But in this movie, they need someone who's like really gonna like
Ham it up.
Yeah, and he tries to ham it up, but when he tries to ham it up, it just comes off weird.
Yeah, but
Like Pee Wee Herman can ham it up, but he didn't. It was a bad fit.
For me, again, it's probably because I don't remember seeing Ruger Hauer in anything else. I think I've only seen him in 2 movies. I could be wrong. I need to check some of the other stuff he's done. But again, after watching him in The Hitcher and then watching this, I'm just wondering what the hell happened between The Hitcher and this.
I don't know, man. this is a big studio movie, so maybe they just like threw money at him, and he was like,
Fuck it.
Didn't read the script and see like, oh, am I a good fit for the character? So
You stupid little bitch.
But actually, that's for that line alone, he shouldn't get the worst performance. That is the funniest thing ever. For him just to be like, you have to like watch like how serious he's like, so seducing and laid back, and then suddenly when he realizes that she's not going for it, he's just like, yo, stupid little bitch. The Slayer backstory and the Watcher backstory and Lothos backstory, it's all interesting stuff actually. Like more exposition actually wouldn't have hurt this movie. You'd like to see, I would like, so if that's your flashback thing, for me it's, I need more of Lothos. I need more of his background. I need them to explain what his fucking plan is. Why is he taking 2 months to seduce the Slayer? Why is he suddenly like, I want to dance. I want to go to the prom.
I think
his
like I said,
plan
I'm pretty
is not,
sure he wants a bride.
Yeah, but it's just not. It's not talked about enough. It's not well established. When he talks to Pee Wee Herman, he's just giving orders. But even Pee Wee Herman's like, the dance. Let's go kill her now. It's like they need to do a better job of him explaining. Like I said, in Vampire Brooklyn, we have a clear goal for Eddie's vampire. But we didn't have that here.
So, worst scene.
Yeah, for me, the basketball scene on the basketball court just felt out of place because I would think a vampire on the basketball court would just start biting the other team's neck, not actually trying to score points and win the basketball game. So the vampire there is just being goofy. He's like, go team, go. It's like, shouldn't you be biting someone's neck? So
Tongue in cheek.
I get it. But, I mean, most of the vampires here aren't, outside Pee Wee Herman, most of them are played pretty straight. They're not, like, played goofy. The vampires are played, for the most part, like serious creatures of the night. So
worst scene of the
him
movie.
playing basketball, which is weird.
Worst scene. So I can still see that point. But because also you see the way he looks, and absolutely no one is like, hey, I'm getting the fuck out of here. But anyway.
Yeah, even his teammates.
Anyway.
Did you see the Ben Affleck cameo? That's got to be Ben Affleck's first movie.
So I just got to say, my worst scene is actually that seduction scene in the school basement thing. Again, because there's just so many... there's no reason why she should have lived this. With everything that has happened at this point, there's no reason she should have lived this. He should have just bitten her and dead.
Willpower. The power of good.
I would have been happy if he bit her and then she becomes a vampire because he wanted her to be his bride, and then she killed him while as a vampire and then reverted back to normal because she had not fed yet. That would have made it for a better ending. It made more sense.
The ending does go off the rails a little bit. I definitely love the first half of the movie a lot more than the second half. Once Merrick exits, it's almost like the plot just kind of goes nowhere. Like I said, the problem with the prom scene is I don't know what... At the end, I don't know if Lothos is still trying to marry her or kill her or what, because his plan seemed to be to marry her and then kill her, or seduce her and then kill her. But once that fails, he's just trying to full-blown kill her, I guess? I don't know. But, true. She could have been a dead woman, but the fact is, it's called Buffy the Vampire Slayer, buddy.
Hey, you know how many movies use the fact that the person needs to turn into the vampire to kill the vampire? All of them.
True.
Even Vampire in Brooklyn, the girl, even though technically it wasn't by choice.
Fright Night, too.
Yeah, Friday Night. Well,
but this is different.
The girl didn't fight back.
But this is different.
Vampire.
In this context, you gotta remember Buffy's not a human being. She is. But as a Slayer, she actually has supernatural abilities. When he throws a knife and she's like, no, and catches it, that's like, he's like, only a Slayer could do that. It's implied that she actually has beyond human capabilities.
So you're saying a regular person cannot catch a knife? Do I need to pull up YouTube?
Not the way he did it. He did it like without her looking, and she's a teenage girl. What I'm really saying is that Michael Myers walked out of that fire, and it wasn't firefighters, but Buffy the Vampire Slayer there.
Michael still would have won.
Michael would have said, I'm going back in the fire. He would have went back in the fire.
So we already discussed what we would like to see more of. What would you want to get rid of?
Easy. Super easy. Buffy's boyfriend and his friend. First of all, the boyfriend's friend, and at the beginning is like, can I borrow her?
Well, here's another thing.
The boyfriend and the friend, her having a boyfriend, if she was going to end up being with Pike, her having a boyfriend, that whole thing was just useless, waste time.
Well, I can understand why you'd want to get rid of the boyfriend just because he also breaks up with her when he realizes she can kick his ass.
That it is implied that was the red flag.
Yeah. When she sees that he flipped his friend over, he gets mad at her. It's like, why the hell did you do that? And then jokingly teases him. It's like, hey, that's not cool, man. Don't do that again.
Yeah, but you know what, though? To be fair to him, though, it's implied that at a certain point, it's almost like she stops talking to him because she's
out fighting vampires. She had no choice.
She shows up at the prom without even having made a plan with him, but expects him to be there as her date. He's probably like, we haven't even talked in a month. Like, of course I have another prom date. Like, she was pretty neglecting at that point because she was feeling Pike. So I'm not mad at the boyfriend per se, but I don't think him and the friend had no purpose in the movie.
Well, there's a lot of things that had no purpose in this movie.
Just them two and the parents.
Yeah, well. Final thoughts? Yeah, I can definitely see where there's fans of this movie. I can definitely see why Vic likes it for a lot of her nostalgia. For people who are into cheek and comedy, you get some funny moments. I didn't personally find any. I'm not a big comedy fan, and this is evident by most of my comedies is because of my wife. So all in all, the actors did what they could to make the characters either believable or funny. The only one that I felt was really out of place was definitely more Ruger Hauer than any of them.
Definitely.
And I personally would have rather see Pee Wee Herman as the main villain the entire damn movie. It would have made more sense with him pulling out a katana just to be funny.
It almost feels like he was. Like he said, he literally got more screen time than another guy.
And then the music, sadly, I'm not going to put this as a hate, but it's not really my cup of tea. Overall,
90s pop music.
and the fighting was definitely, you can tell, was
low budget.
People didn't know how to use the weapons they were given.
They didn't have Jet Li on set giving advice here. So.
No, they didn't have a fight choreographer. So overall, I have to give this movie, I'm going to give it a 2. It's still a fun movie to watch, but it's not one of those that I'm going to sit there and revisit. In fact, I'm giving my Blu-ray to Vic, even though he already has a Blu-ray of it.
The thing with comedy, and generally we actually, for the most part, stay away from comedies on this podcast because reviewing comedies is very difficult because people do have different sense of humor, different taste. There's scenes that I find hilarious that Nick's not going to laugh at, and there's other movies where he'll find things hilarious that I don't laugh at, as we've seen with like Hocus Pocus, for example. So comedies are hard to gauge. The sense of humor of this movie works for me. I definitely understand why it doesn't work for everybody. There are definitely some plot holes for sure. Like I said, Lothos' plan is never really well played out. The backstory is pretty silly, and the ending kind of goes off the rails a little bit. I do like all the main characters. I ended up liking Buffy a lot by the end of the movie. I like Pike a lot. I like Donald Sutherland while he's in the movie. I like Pee Wee Herman's character. I appreciate how stupid Hilary Swank and her friends are. They're playing like a super obvious stereotype, but they're doing it well. Only people I hate in the movie was the boyfriend and the boyfriend's friend. So for me personally, I'm just going to say for me it's 3 stars. But I would just start the movie, throw it on, and see within 10 minutes you can see if it's going to click with your sense of humor. For me it works, so I watch it all the time. So I'd also definitely have the nostalgic bias towards it as well. So for me 3 stars, but I would say also I'd recommend the TV show. If you like the movie or if you don't like the movie, I'd still recommend the TV show as well. Once we hit a certain point of the night, it's time for chicken nuggets and Chick-fil-A sauce, even though Chick-fil-A is closed, so I'm not going to be getting that. We'll be back next week with a different movie. Pretty soon, we're going to start doing some Christmas movies. It'll be that time of the year to get into our Christmas season. I have a couple movies lined up for that.
I hope everyone had a good Halloween. Hope you all had a lot of candy. And I hope everyone listened to Spooky Scary Skeletons and the Monster Mash at midnight of Halloween. Happy Halloween. Y'all have a good night. Remember, y'all don't have to go home, but y'all do have to go watch the rest of our episodes. They're down below. Good night.